You're listening to the Surgeons of Horror podcast.
Hello, welcome to the Surgeons of Horror podcast, where we dissect horror movies, one franchise, or movie, or director, or legend at a time.
Or frame.
Or frame.
That is a really long podcast.
Oh my god. Can you imagine? We waffle,
Yes,
we waffle on enough as it is.
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Holy moly.
Star Wars, frame one. Sorry.
So, as usual, I'm your lead host or lead surgeon in this outfit of the horror aficionados that make up the Surgeons of Horror team. My name is Paul Farrell. Hi. And this week I am joined by Anthony Yee, the Big Cheese.
Hello, here to mumble for another 2 hours.
Woo!
I am sorry about that.
That's all right.
Okay.
So, welcome.
Thank you.
And we last spoke about The Conjuring.
Oh, I was lead on that one.
You were the lead on it.
My first time.
So people that come into the iTunes arena, they would have just listened to The Conjuring last week as we've posted it
Oh, right,
off
yes.
the back of this one. So, but those who are regular visitors to our website, you would have already listened to that one a little while ago. But this in itself is our chance to expand on the Conjuring franchise, which...
Conjuring universe.
As we are speaking.
About to become a 3-picture deal.
Yeah.
As we're speaking.
Plus spin-offs, but we'll talk about all of those.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to talk about our quick viewpoints on those at the end. Those of you that are new to the podcast, the idea is that the team get together, we talk about a horror film, and we just dissect it. Basically kind of picking up the plot narrative of it and going through that piece by piece, and maybe kind of going off on massive tangents along the way. We try and kind of rope it back in.
Not me at all.
So before we kind of get to the plot line itself, you know, the subject matter of The Conjuring 2 is one of the most documented accounts of demonic possession that's ever gone out there.
Right.
How familiar were you with the story?
The Eiffel Ghost?
Yeah,
okay. I had, being Australian, no fucking idea. I'm older than you.
Ooh.
And it happened during my tween years.
Yes.
And of course, no internet, no media thing, no social media, three TV channels.
Yes.
All black and white. No idea, never heard of this. My earliest, 1976?
1978.
we got one of the numbers, we'll get there. 78, so Star Wars has been out. The biggest news at that time was Elvis Presley died.
77.
I remember hearing that on the radio and asking my mum, who's Elvis Presley? That's my memory of that time.
Yeah.
Never heard of this at all. Being an Englishman, you are.
Yeah, I am.
This is a very different story for you, though, isn't it?
Yeah, although like it happened in the year I was born.
Ah, okay.
So my memory of it actually happening wouldn't be that.
Wouldn't be that great.
Wouldn't be that high. But I am all too familiar with the story of it. Growing up, everyone talks about the Enfield haunting.
Yeah.
You know.
It's your Amityville.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And
exactly right.
I mean, I've since... Be a student's not a correct term, but I have since read up about it.
Yeah. Because
I saw the telly movie, The Enfield Haunting, which came out a year before this movie.
Yeah.
And that's how I got familiar with it. I remember calling you up and going, was this a thing? And you're like, yeah, duh. And yeah, it's fascinating as all hell.
It's massively fascinating. So we'll probably kind of talk around the actual real life events as we go into the story, because obviously this is a film and it has license to kind of go where it wants to in order to entertain the masses. But look, let's talk about the opening of the movie. So what we should say is that, you know, we're following Ed and Lorraine Warren again in their investigations, who we saw in the first film.
Movie, yep.
They are once again played by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga as they kind of recreate their role.
Which one does she play?
She plays Ed.
Nice one. She's such a comedian.
They switched it up this time round. Did you notice that?
That was the first
the gender swap.
The first thing I thought, I think they're taking a license here.
So look, so they return. So, and we actually pick up with them at the very beginning of the movie in what I'm just going to call the prologue.
Yep.
And interestingly enough, it's the age-old, very kind of cool way of telling a story is that we pick up on the event, a previous investigation.
I call it the James Bond opening.
Yes.
The beginning of the film is the end of another adventure.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, very good analogy. And in this instance, it is actually the Amityville Horror. case that we're kind of picking up on the back of.
That had a huge impact on my childhood.
So how were you familiar with that, despite the lack of internet, blah blah blah?
Yeah, well, it came out because I interviewed the couple on the Don Lane show, which is our equivalent of Letterman.
Yeah.
In fact, he had no competition, so think of a world that has Letterman and no Jay Leno.
Yeah.
Everybody watched the Don Lane show, and he came on, and he was kind of a believer.
Yeah.
Because I remember that famous skeptic Randy, what's his face, came on, and Don was really rude to him because he, quite rightly so, pointed out a famous psychic, some woman who was doing the rounds of the TV talk show circuit back then. He called her a fraud, and she was. But Don Lane called him a F-word and told him to piss off on national TV back in 1970, whatever. But the Amityville people came on, and I remember as a kid being terrified at the interview of all the black and white photographs they brought up, and it was real. Back in the time when people kind of... We've talked about this before in other podcasts, but the default position of the general public, one, you believe in God, two, you believe psychics are real, ghosts are possibly real, unless you have to make an active stance and say, I don't believe in that stuff. The default position for a lot of people, believe in God, believe in ghosts. And the Amityville thing was like, proof. Photographic evidence. And so everybody just assumed it was real. It was scary as fuck. So anyway.
No, it's all really interesting. So kind of imagine that kind of then happening in England and the media that kind of surrounded this family. And they talk about it in some of the extras. There's an extra in there where they actually talk to the two older sisters now.
And they still maintain.
Yeah, they still maintain the story. It's true and genuine. And they even talk to the photographer, one of the photographers.
The one who took the famous levitating
photo? Yeah. And he wasn't in the room at the time. It was an automated...
Oh, really?
Photo shot, apparently.
Right.
So, but he has definitely come out saying he's a believer and said there were strange things going on in that house that were unexplained, and you can't say it was down to the performances of the girls because it's just it was there were events happening that he couldn't explain.
Right. Cool.
So that kind of makes you kind of it's all very well kind of coming from the family, but then. And he seemed genuine enough. Sure, he could probably be there to just sell his
you never know
images and stuff. But he came across genuine in it. Okay, so to the story itself. So what is important about the prologue is that not necessarily the family that's involved, because it is a bit of a sideline. There is quite a cool moment where she then is psychically channeling herself into the spirit of the guy that was going around killing.
That's right. Sorry, I have not seen this film since the movie.
I've not seen this film. That's going to make
short
it awkward.
podcast. I'm just getting my lunch. No, she comes in, holding up a shotgun in her mind. Because that's what the guy. This really happened. The guy killed his family.
That's right.
Went from room to room, shot them dead in their sleep.
So what the Lutz family are the family that are in the Amityville home, and they're the ones that people know about, the press kind of all that stuff. And they were claiming that this previous incident of the shooting is what has kind of caused the spiritual unrest within the house. And this is what Lorraine Warren is picking up when she's there. So she's kind of going around with air shotgun. Not an air guitar, air shotgun.
She holds her hands up as if she's got a shotgun.
That's it, and goes around, and then you kind of see in the reflection of the mirror that the guy there. There's a weird bit that I have a bit of a grievance with that too. As she's standing there, she turns her face away from the mirror, but the guy in the reflection keeps his head still. And I went,
He's being a shit reflection.
Yeah, I'm like, you're not.
Dude, you're not selling it.
So I was a bit annoyed by that, but that's just me. But during this process of her kind of having these psychic visions, within, I guess it's kind of a seance, really, isn't it? With some of the family members there, Ed's by her side too. She then kind of, as she's watching the acts of her going around killing the family members, she then encounters a demonic creature, which is in the form of a nun.
This is the nun.
The nun.
Yeah.
Followed by a man dying. She screams, and Ed pulls her out of the vision and comforts her.
Right. Dun, dun, dun.
So there's something going on that's untoward.
The nun's not part of...
The nun's not part of...
Yeah, she's big picture.
She's big picture.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we don't know who she is at this stage, but her presence is known at this point.
Cue the opening credits.
Cue the opening credits. James Bond.
Yeah, just say he walks across the screen, turns around, and goes bang.
Yeah.
Nice.
With a crucifix. Take that, spirit.
Does he throw it at the camera?
Yeah. Ow!
Ow!
Oh my god, this is going to be a long podcast. But then we cut 3 years later with a very cunning way of using shots of London and the Clash, London Calling, to really emphasise the point that we're in London.
Didn't that come out in the 1980s though?
London
Clash.
Calling. Oh god, you could be right.
Because I have a distinct memory that Rolling Stone magazine in 1989, the top 100 albums of the 80s,
Yeah.
that was number one.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that
It
you're
picked
right.
the Joshua
I think it could even be 1982. The Clash were.
But it's a go-to song, isn't it? London Calling.
It's a cheap way of just going. We're
Yeah.
in London, and playing on the words London Calling as
Exactly, they're calling to them.
in yeah.
Oh.
So look, it's clever.
I honestly didn't get that.
Just one era. So yeah, but we're there, and this is where we meet the Hodgsons, and this is where we get the background of all the family members that are involved within it, and very much like the first one, we're going through the same motions of we're getting to know a big family unit. This time, no father figure, which
Yeah,
kind of
'cause
comes quite important throughout
It does.
the throw of it. We have a single mother who is Frances O'Connor.
Yes, Frances O'Connor. She was the mum in AI.
Yes.
Have you seen the boy who's the boy in AI? Have you seen what he's
Haley
like now?
Joel Osment. Yeah.
Yeah, have you seen him now?
Yeah, he was in Tusk.
Yeah. Oh, was he?
Yeah.
I was thinking Silicon Valley.
Oh, is he in that?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And Chris Dawes, who's a friend of ours, pointed out he could have played one of the dwarves in The Hobbit.
Yeah.
Like Bomber.
Yeah.
But to his credit...
It's a hairy feet.
Yeah, it's hairy feet. To his credit, he's leaned into it.
Right.
He just,
He's still a good actor, though.
Well, yeah. But he's made no apologies
Nah.
for his transformation.
Nah.
Fair enough then.
He's all right. Nothing wrong with that.
He'll die at 45, but hey, whatever. Yeet.
Yeah, so we meet the Hodgsons, as I said.
Hodgsons. Two girls. No, two girls and two boys.
Yeah, why do I feel like there's a fifth one in there?
There might be, because in the Einfeld story, they ignored one of the kids. Because we talked about this in the previous podcast with the Conjuring 1. There's 5 kids.
Yeah, and they got
And
rid
if
of
it was a
one.
Hollywood film,
Yeah.
we would have probably lost 2 kids because that's a lot of kids
Yeah.
to keep track of.
I think because one of the boys kind of gets forgotten in this one.
Yeah.
Because there's the stuttering boy
Hmm.
who is named Johnny, is it? No, Billy. Yeah, I'm going to read it out here. So Janet is the lead girl, the one that gets possessed.
Yep.
Spoilers. And then we have also Margaret, who's the older sister, and younger brothers Johnny and Billy. Oh yeah, that's right. Billy's the one that stutters, and Johnny's the one that is a bit more braver, and he's the one that does the thing later on, who goes into the kitchen to confront.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's 4 of them. We kind of get this bit where we're kind of also introduced to Janet's friend Camilla at the beginning too, where she's talking to her friend, and there's a smoko bit on the playground, having a smoko.
Having a smoke.
And the only reason I mention that is because they get caught, and Janet's not smoking; she's holding the cigarette, and her mum doesn't believe her. And this kind of
That's
is
right.
important. The reason I mention it is
Catalyst.
because it shows their relationship and this how there is a bit of friction between the two.
Yep.
At this stage. Once as I said, the younger brother, this is Billy, he's the one that's got the speech impediment, and he's being bullied at school. And the mother, Peggy is her name, is having self-doubts about her abilities to kind of be a single mum with 4 kids, which is understandable.
Yeah. The house is in disrepair.
Yeah.
It's a shithole.
Yeah, man, even when they're going down to the basement, and I'm jumping ahead here, it's flooded as fuck, and you're like, how is that house still standing?
Talk about damp.
Yeah, far out. Okay, so we come to night time though, when everyone's back at home, and Janet and Margaret are sleeping in their room, and this is where Janet is starting to feel a presence in the house. So it's the first indication that stuff's going on. I have to add at this point, a lot of fucking stuff happens throughout this movie. It doesn't really have any kind of a lot of break moments.
It's not the James Wan way of doing horror, which is take out the horror, build up the tension.
Yeah.
It's pretty. I don't know how much of that was them being factual to incidences that
Sure.
are recorded, but yeah, no, I remember being a different rhythm to the first movie.
Yeah.
And that's probably one
There
of
was
the
beat.
reasons
There was felt like it was more beats, but this feels like every scene there's something happening. There's not like a lot of downtime. It's like bang on to the next thing.
Well, particularly like with horror films, you and I have studied a lot of horror films together. Yeah. And I think the first question any filmmaker / writing team has to ask is, when are we going to hit people with the first weird shit?
Yeah.
Do we drag it out? Do we do red herrings? A good example is I watch the Paranormal Activity movies semi-regularly because I find it a fascinating story as in terms of filmmaking process.
Sure.
But the thing I always watch is when does the first weird thing happen?
Yes.
And I've seen the extended cut the other day of Paranormal Activity 2.
Yes.
Nothing happens for the longest time.
I know.
It is the extended version, but it seemed to work. Whereas in other films, when they do that, like Ghostly Encounters, what is it?
Ghostly Encounters. Graveyard
Encounters. To nothing happens for like half an hour, and it's shit.
It's so shit.
So it's a really interesting balancing act.
Yeah.
I think it's how well you build up the tension.
Yeah. It's exactly that. It comes down to, and that a lot of that comes to character development too. You've got to rely on strong characters to allow the tension to build. So with Grave Encounters, there's a case in point of why that's failing already, because you don't give a shit about.
Yeah, he's just such a douchebag.
Yeah. Anyway, so
you know why? Because he's a filmmaker.
Yeah.
All filmmakers are douchebags.
They are.
Yeah.
Including us.
Especially including us.
So as I said, Janet's like having this. She's starting to feel this presence. It's like she's talking to herself a little bit. She kind of, her voice goes a bit raspy, kind of a bit growly kind of sound.
Yep.
And this is my ass. Kind of.
That was pretty good, Paul. That wasn't Paul.
That wasn't me. Yeah. And her sister, who shares the room with her, Margaret, is just thinking she's kind of falling around. But that's when the bed starts shaking, kind of very Exorcist style kind of scenario. And there's a voice of an older man comes from behind where Margaret's sitting. And they start screaming. They go get the mum, and the mum kind of comes in, tells them that I've had enough of you lot. And then the
that wasn't Paul either.
and then this apparently did happen in real life, where the dresser slams straight into the door.
Slams into the wall, yeah.
And then that's where the mum goes, "Oh shit, stuff's real."
But again, if it was a Hollywood film, the classic thing they'll do is make sure the mum doesn't believe initially.
Yeah. Yes.
And so it all happens in front of the kids, so the kid's imagination, the kid's being a pain in the ass. Duality of, is it the kid, is it spirits?
Yeah.
So that sort of thing doesn't happen usually till like way into the movie.
That's right.
But it happens straight off the bat. So mum goes, "Oh shit."
Yes.
Yeah. So that's
important. And I think that's important because they have to get to the point where, because otherwise, like, the investigators aren't going to get there till way down the track if we're starting to drag out all the things that are happening within the house. And this is essentially Ed and Lorraine's story.
I do walk in and say, "Right, that's enough, you lot. It's our fucking story. It's about us now, isn't it?" Yeah.
Sit down. Shut up.
Shut up.
Make us a cup of tea. But it kind of is. Like, there's probably a good point here to mention as well that James Wan said that this is a romance story put into a horror film.
Really? Oh, it's between Ed and Lorraine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I get that.
He just disguises it in a horror film. And that's what I mean by it is their story. You feel it the whole way through. It's definitely about them two as a couple.
Yeah, because he sort of set it up in the first movie where he keeps trying to beg her to stop, to take it easy because he's really worried for her soul. Yes. Because she's the one who's facing these things.
Yes.
And and I do remember that was a continuation of that.
Yeah.
That their love.
Although interestingly, it turns around this time. She's the one that's wanting to step away, and he's the one that's more willing to go along.
We need to make a buck, love.
Yeah.
No, it's because of the girl. Was it? Or did he? Oh no.
We'll
he resonated with the girl. Well, she did. I can't remember.
Yeah, we will get to that. Right. So in fact, we might get to it now because back in the States, this is when the Warrens are on a talk show, and so we're getting how that they're now in the limelight a lot now. Yeah. On these kind of on American TV, there's a guy on there who's basically criticising them, saying that they're just a front.
Well, shit.
And that makes Ed angry, and he turns into the Incredible Hulk.
And I gotta say,
did you see that coming?
I gotta say that. I mean, that was a left turn.
So
go to
the
Marvel
reason
universe.
that we mentioned all this stuff, so that this is kind of showing where they're at now. You know,
Yes.
they've been doing this for years,
Yes.
and they're
a sense of disbelief.
exactly.
And
And
when you're
people
under a
question-
siege, because they are under siege. When
Yeah.
everyone doesn't believe you.
So this is where they're thinking about hanging up their hat,
Yeah.
basically, and just going, let's just let it go. So, but while this is happening, we then go back to Janet and Billy in the Enfield house. So,
It's fine, it's pronounced Einstein.
and this is the cool, kind of a cool element where they're playing with an old Zoetrope.
Yes.
Where
Yep.
there was a crooked man, kind of, and they're using it to get Billy, who stutters, to recite and sing along, because singing is a great way
Helps
of helping
stutterers,
the stuttering. And it's Janet that's helping him with this, and they're watching this, and it's just before they go to bed. Janet has become prone to sleepwalking, so she ties herself to the bed in order to stop her doing so. At which point she ends up on the floor of the living room in the middle of the night, no idea how she got there.
did it.
Yeah.
The thing about sleepwalking, if you make preventative measures, how much does sleepwalker you know about those preventative measures? Like if you handcuff yourself to it.
Well, you'd think subconsciously you would know.
You would know.
You'd be like, oh yeah, I've handcuffed myself.
So
Where to put the
with the
key?
key, yeah. So that kind of defeats.
Yeah.
I don't know. My biggest fear about living in a high-rise apartment is I would sleepwalk off a balcony.
Oh, right.
But no, I mean, that's the thing with me. Like, sleepwalking, you know, we do know people who sleepwalk.
Yeah.
One of our fellow podcasters has sleepwalked and woke up in the middle of the street and just walked back inside.
Yeah, that's right.
But you know, it's a thing. If you're in a high-rise apartment, what's to stop you from
It's strange, isn't it?
sleepwalking off the ledge? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird, hey?
You know, I say with hypnotism, right? You can't hypnotise somebody to do something that's not in their nature.
No.
Who the fuck is a chicken? You hypnotise people to be a chicken.
We've all come from somewhere.
Exactly. So I think you probably can if you can make somebody cluck like a chicken.
I
don't know.
I thought it was more about it's about being impressionable. You need to be impressionable in order for it to take hold. That's why they whittle it down. Like you see it at the when you go to these hypnotist stage shows.
yeah.
They have a bunch of people come up,
And they go through
and then as you can see, they start homing in on certain people because they're the ones that are a bit more perceptible to going under and
yeah.
the influence of
The general rule they've always said is you can never hypnotise somebody to kill somebody, for example.
No, that's right.
But if you hypnotise them to become a chicken,
Yeah,
that's okay.
and then kill somebody as a chicken, and then say it wasn't me, it was the chicken.
Yeah. Anyway, we might be saying stuff that's completely illegal, but I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
hypothesizing.
Hypothesizing. So this is where we then we kind of cut back to Billy, who he walks around the house, and that's when he sees the toy fire truck,
Yep. Does he go inside?
and it's on the floor, and he rolls it into a tent,
Yes.
like a
It's like a kid's
TP kind of,
yeah.
and then which is up on the landing hallway. And moments later, it does the whole kind of rolling back into Billy's room, so which makes you go "Hapakwa," because Billy's room's at the opposite end of the hall
Yes,
as
it
well.
couldn't
So
have
it's
got
not
there.
like it's just
Yeah, it's done that. But then he looks up and says, "There's a stagehand going. Do you mind not doing that?" And the gaffer goes, "Sorry, buddy,
yeah. I'm sorry.
the director told me to."
Yeah, fucking directors.
Fucking directors.
So it goes into his room, and then he goes back outside, rolls it into the tent. At which point, there's a groaning sound, and that's when he runs into his mum's room, screaming. All this is done in one take. This bit too, by the way.
Right, nice.
So from the point he runs into his mum's room, wakes up mum. Mum gets up, goes, "What's carrying on?" Goes and looks in, and there's nothing there.
Mhm.
And she goes, she kind of dismisses it, but then we see hear a pounding at the door, and that's when she goes and opens it. But there's no one outside, and then Janet returns. So this is Margaret, the older daughter. Here's a pounding on the door, that really heavy pounding on the door.
Yeah.
And then by the time she opens it and looks out, that's when Janet comes back. She goes, "What are you banging on the door, silly?" And she goes, "Fucking wow." She doesn't swear. That's just me. So there's like this again. You know, there's lots of things
Lots
happening to
going on,
everyone
yeah.
at the same time. The next day, Janet's watching TV. Oh yeah, and this is where the channels start. I feel like I've missed a bit. Oh no, there's a bit where the mum goes downstairs and she sees Janet sitting in the armchair, which is where the presence is felt.
Yes.
And then this is quite a cool. This is done in one shot too, but this is where the mum picks her up so she's kind of asleep, presumes sleepwalking, takes her upstairs, and we see them disappear up the stairs. It pans round. The chair is still rocking, and it keeps moving round, and then it's daylight, and then camera then pulls back and reveals Janet sitting down in front of the TV, and it's daytime. She's watching.
Oh, I remember that. Yep,
so it's all done in one shot, which is really quite cool. And this is something that he plays with a lot throughout the film, is that he does a lot of these kind of long takes, or kind of weaving 3 scenes, or would be 3 scenes into one long take.
Yeah. Can I just interject here?
Yeah.
At the time we're doing this podcast, it's been a week into the Han Solo movie saga.
Oh yeah.
Where Chris Lord and Miller have been fired.
They're out on their ear.
And it's only just coming down the Hollywood Reporter as to why they got fired. And one of the reasons is it's the kind of thing, like creative differences.
It's the improv stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, they improved a lot.
Yeah.
Lawrence Kasdan, like one of the greatest Hollywood writers, ever pissed that his words weren't being used.
Yeah, I heard.
They did agree that, okay, we'll do the take as read, and then they spend like 28 takes doing improv, and he didn't like that. But it was the coverage is what upset Kathleen Kennedy.
Kathleen Kennedy, yeah.
They got back to rushes, and for any one scene, there'd been only 3 setups. And like the editor would be sitting there going, I've got nothing to cut away to.
Yeah. Because
that's what they were doing. Apparently there's one scene, they sat in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon, refused to come out to 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Any film, feature or independent, shoots about 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
And they came out saying, okay, we're shooting the scene, 3 setups, and everybody assumed it was going to be about a dozen. And that was it. So they were doing these big, long one-take things.
Right, yeah.
And which I get. I mean, artistically, I get why their headspace is probably there.
Yeah.
And they have a vision, and they both agreed to it. But I can understand why, as people spending the money, they'd be like, this doesn't feel like a Star Wars film.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Too experimental.
Yeah, it's too experimental. But
why hire them when that's their stick?
Yeah, that's what we're saying. Well,
that's what they were known for.
Yeah. But other people saying, well, they took a chance because the only big film they'd done was the Lego Movie, which is animation.
Yeah.
And a couple other feature films before that.
Yep.
But look, I mean, I can't see both sides of the argument. You can't, if you work in a corporate environment, if there's puppet masters, you have to be amenable.
Yeah.
But if you don't let auteurs be auteurs, you get a very generic film.
Yes.
And if you're taking a risk, like the Marvel Universe takes risks on the auteurs. They hire directors they think will be a perfect fit for the franchise. And there's like Kevin Feige, there's a lot of creative interference.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it kind of works. Anyway, it's just interesting. But that when you just told me that.
Yeah, it reminds you of that setup.
Yeah. Interesting.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yes. I mean, like it's a... I can imagine something like that would work in a horror film. I could sell that in a horror film. Like it's a one-take thing. It's a lot of Corey.
I'm a little worried about Ron Howard taking over.
I think he's a highly underrated director. I mean, and he's like revered.
He's not really done anything successful since Apollo 13. If you look at his latter half of his career, they've all kind of tanked, really.
That's true.
They've not really. So that's why I mean I'm a little bit worried about.
Yeah.
He's safe, as in like he'll get the job done.
Well, my thing is he's hiding to nothing and then hiding to everything.
Yeah.
Anything bad at that movie, that's not his fault. Anything
true.
But at the same time, nobody wants to take over somebody else's project because a lot of the cool stuff is done.
Yeah.
So I can imagine.
I know.
I don't know.
It'll be interesting.
I'll be curious, yeah.
All right, so let's go back to the Conjuring.
Okay.
On that brief interlude.
And we're back.
So, so it's the next day, and this is where Janet's at home, and the whole kind of TV starts changing the channel and stuff, and she gets a bit shirty with it.
She's sitting on the remote.
And then, oops. But then she goes to the TV, and that's where she sees his image for the first time in a reflection.
Mm-hmm.
Very Signs-esque.
Yeah, I was about to say that's Signs. Yeah,
with for the whole alien reveal bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're not saying you're stealing James Wan. We're not saying
that. He is. He's still saying.
No, he's not. He's still. Stop it. And that's when he also goes, my ass! And then she kind of runs out screaming. So this is where they then run out over the street to the family neighbourhood across the road. There's the Nottinghams. And
where are they from?
The police have come over. I think Denmark.
Nice.
They come. They come over. The police come over, and this is interesting too because this is an actual account as well. Where
again, in the movie, if this is a Hollywood scripted movie, this doesn't happen until way later.
Yes,
this bit.
So police come in, and then they're investigating. And while they do, a chair just kind of moves itself, and then it goes straight back into the kitchen, which apparently happened.
So did Poltergeist nick that?
From
the chair sliding bit.
Yeah.
Because it's like
it's the main thing with I don't know.
They like
chairs. Yeah, the whole stacking of chairs is something.
Yeah, that was the Poltergeist. That's such a classic scene.
Yeah. So it's I don't know about stealing it. I think it's a known thing that Poltergeist just like moving shit.
Chairs.
It's like, I was using that.
Yeah, no. Can you imagine two ghosts? Why are you moving the chair? Oh, it's a bit heavy. You can move the fucking pencil. Oh yeah.
Yeah, have they not seen ghosts? How much energy it takes to
There's a lot of
something?
energy to move something. He's not noticing the pencil. Yeah, get back to the chair.
Then at the Warren house, so back to Ed and Lorraine, this is where Ed's painting a picture, beautiful picture of the nun, who he claims to have said is seen in his dream, and but it just so happens it's the same nun
that scared the shit out of
Lorraine. Later on, she's sitting in the living room, and this is where her daughter. This is good. This bit.
Yeah, this bit's good. Yeah.
Yeah, because. Like I was going to ask you, I don't recall the daughter having a psychic connection, but she clearly does.
Not in the first movie. She got scared by the Annabelle ghost.
Yeah.
But I assume, and this is a trope where if you've got it, you get it from your mum.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're a girl.
Yeah. So this is but interestingly, like she's the first one that senses the presence, and we see in the background a shadowy figure that clearly looks like the nun.
Yeah.
Walking past. And then we pan across to the mum, and then she suddenly realises that the daughter's not there. Comes out into the hallway, and the girl's just staring towards the camera, but down the corridor, pointing and said, "Mum, who's that?"
Yeah.
And then that's when Lorraine sees that it's the nun. The nun disappears into another room.
The study or something.
Lorraine follows. Yeah. And then when she goes into that room, there's no sign of her, but there is the creepy fucking painting up on the wall.
Yes.
Yeah, why would you put it there? There is another painting as well of the house from the first film as well with the tree.
Oh, really?
With the hanging
I can't remember that.
image.
Yeah, the hanging was...
And she keeps looking to that, so it's like there's a connection going on between what's happening and the previous haunting experience. And then she there's a great bit where the shadow of the nun starts walking along the wall, and it goes around and it turns up behind the picture. And then she's going up, turning the light off and on again.
Yeah.
Stop it! Trying to see. And then the hands come out from behind the side of the frame.
Yeah.
And then it kind of charges towards her.
Yeah.
And which propels her back into this kind of room, doesn't it? And then she has the vision again. And this time she clearly sees Ed being impaled by some kind of stake.
Stake being thrown off. So the interesting thing about this scene is they shot it during the day.
Yeah.
And they used sunlight through drapes as a good way of getting some creepy contrast.
Yes.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good scene. It's scary. Like, the nun thing was scary. It was part of the great social media campaign for the movie. He's using that nun. Yes. In a very classic bit on YouTube where they use an actress dressed as unscaring people. And one guy got so scared he threw his water bottle at her head.
She's great.
Which I fucking love.
And then she goes, I know it!
No, she went, fuck it off! Anyway.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
I always think about social media campaigns, particularly scary movies. It's America. They've got guns.
Oh, yes. Worrying, hey. Like, just
I don't know, man.
The fucker.
There's conceal and carry laws over there.
I know. It's got to happen.
It will happen.
Jinx it, but something's
going it's going to pull out.
Yeah. Just to end that bit, Lorraine scribbles something in the Bible.
Property of Lorraine.
Yeah. Warren. Fuck off. Yeah. So you were
so the interesting bit too, I guess, with them going to the neighbours, the mum seeing it, the police have seen it.
Yeah.
It established in real life the credibility of this haunting.
Yes.
That you had outside witnesses, and the cops are representative of the government.
Yes.
So therefore, it's officially been recognised as this is a weird ass.
And apparently they did run out going, we can't help you.
Above a pay grade.
On paper, we can't.
It's not a jurisdiction. This is called the Ghost Squad. Yeah. Bullets don't work, love.
Yeah.
And I'm English, so I don't have a gun.
Yeah.
Got a whistle.
Got a stick.
Got a stick, whistle.
Could club it to death.
Yeah, the two cops and they go out. You got the stick or the whistle?
Oh, I'll have the whistle.
Yeah. I'll stick
White noise.
Yeah. And then like they get separated, they get mugged. And the guy with the whistle goes, "Ah, shit! Wish I had a stick. Wish I had a stick."
Take that. Oh, my eye. Throwing a whistle at me for. So yeah, you're right. So after the fact, the people in Enfield start becoming a lot more aware of what's happening with the haunting of the Hodgson's household. There are some paranormal researchers then get involved. One of them is Maurice Grosse, who became kind of renowned as the sympathiser. And
in the Enfield Hauntings, the other show, he's the star.
Yes, that's right.
He's
Timothy Spall.
Yeah, and brilliantly played by Timothy Spall.
Yeah.
And the Warrens in that movie come and go.
Yeah, they're in and out.
Yeah, and they're from memory, they treated it as if, I can't remember how they'll treat it, their attitude towards it in that movie is very different to this movie.
Yeah, which is strange because, like, I got the impression that was true, as in, like, they kind of said they couldn't do anything with it, which, if you follow the line of the movie, there is a bit where they leave.
Yes.
And I think that's actually where it ends.
Right. In that movie, though.
As in real life, I think that's where their involvement ends when they go.
They took off,
And but they take license of them coming back. Yeah. But interestingly, when they were filming that, they got Lorraine Warren in and met Janet and Margaret Hodgson again. And there is a moment of genuine kind of connection there between them. As though you kind of go, well, they couldn't have been bitter about them going. Do you know what I mean? It's it must have ended well. So I don't know. I don't know where the truth lies there. But there you go. Where was I going with that?
Timothy Spall's character.
Timothy Spall's character, yeah. So Maurice Grosse, and there's also Anita Gregory, who's played by Franca Potenti, and she's the skeptic, and quite bitchy about it too.
Yeah, you gotta have something like that.
Yeah,
adversary.
They have a film crew come in, and then while they're filming her, Janet, she then starts speaking with the raspy voice again.
Yeah.
And this is where we find out that the entity's name is Bill Wilkins, a 70-year-old man, and he's demanding everyone leaves his home. Then the kids, their family will kind of stay at the Nottingham home at this point too, and the children are asleep in the living room, and while everyone is asleep, Billy hears the bell going, which we've been told in an earlier scene is when the dog wants to go and have a piss.
Yeah, okay, yep.
Yeah, so they can let the dog out. So he kind of goes to look. He sees what he thinks is the dog crouching down, opens the door, and then all of a sudden it kind of starts standing up, and it turns into the Crooked Man.
Yes. So this felt very Babadook, although this came before
pre-Babadook.
Yeah, this came before the Babadook. And also a bit Tim Burton-ish.
Yeah.
With the animation.
Stop animation. Yeah. It's the one area so with the Crooked Man, they've gone on record saying it's the least. Of all the characters or spirits, it's the one that's the least buried in reality.
Yeah, it felt like a lot of artistic.
Yeah. And it's been announced that the Crooked Man is going to get a spin-off as well. That's coming out.
The Nun's getting a spin-off too.
The Nun's got one, which is just finishing filming now.
Wow.
So they're really expanding.
So this franchise is doing what Tom Cruise couldn't do with The Mummy.
Ooh. Contentious.
I know. I haven't seen this one yet, so I'm just going with what other people are saying.
The Mummy, I've seen it.
Have you?
Yeah.
We'll talk about that offline. Unless you want to talk about it online.
You can just read what I wrote about it on the website.
What website?
surgeonsofhorror.com.
I hear that's really good.
Yeah, I do. So the Crooked Man appears and he's reciting the nursery rhyme again and chasing Billy.
There was a Crooked Man.
When he runs to tell his mum and the others, that's when Janet then suddenly emerges instead of the Crooked Man, and then she kind of collapses onto the ground.
So you go into this thing of, it's not the place, and you're not safe no matter where you go.
Yeah, but the weird thing about this, what's kind of clever around it is the whole nursery rhyme kind of children's thing, which always kind of plays well in a creepy kind of horror environment.
Why is that?
Um,
Why are kids creepy?
Because it's when they act outside of the norm, it comes across as
That's true.
like
Like your son when he scared the shit out of me that one time I pulled up to your house in the middle of the night.
staring at you.
To the window, like a freaking Children of the Corn.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever.
God, I love him.
Yeah.
So it is kind of creepy as shit. But like, what was interesting is a bit where you think it's the crooked man that's going to appear, but it's Janet, and this kind of lends weight to: is it happening or not happening? Is it just within Janet? Do you know what I mean? Because like, so a younger kid could get spooked really easily if a older sibling is telling a horror story or the boogeyman. And is playing it out, can freak out, and then when she comes around. So I just thought this is quite a good way of going. All right, where does the truth and
is it a hoax? Or
I thought that was kind of really well played at that point. And of course, because as I said, the crooked man himself is so far removed from reality that it could lend itself to that whole imaginative play scare factor.
So maybe it was that's the red herring.
Yeah, well, that's how I saw it.
Right,
although later on defies that when he appears later on. But that's how I was reading it when I first saw that little section, which was kind of cool, I guess. And then the priest turns up at the Warrens' house, who's telling them about what's happening in England and everything that's going around that. And that's when he plays the audio recording of the interview. Where Janet kind of starts...
Goes to the voice.
Yeah, to Ed and Lorraine.
Right, that's good. Shut up, don't do. I'm 72 years old. I come from Jewel Park, graveyard. And I have right near the church where Rita lives. And all my friends come from there as well. And we all make a game and go to the pub. And then we thought we'd pick your house, because I used to live here. And I will tell you some more, as if you don't get anyone else, the second story and Mr. Playback.
So that was just a quick snippet of the actual audio recordings of the Hodgkinson's family and the Bill Spectre that had possessed the youngest daughter, Janet. And this is what the priest plays to Ed and Lorraine when he's kind of pleading for them to come and check this out. And bearing in mind, at this point, they've said they're retired; they're not doing anymore. And it's and then this is also where Lorraine, tells Ed that she's had this vision of Ed's death, and he's kind of response to that is like, I think this is meant to be a sign, and she's meant to prevent it. So he kind of flips it back onto her, and so they decide to head to England instead.
London calling.
London calling.
Yeah, as we sort of set off mic before with the recording, because it would be a thing to test a kid if the kid is really possessed. Is if you say my name, bend over.
Yeah.
Or
This is my colleague Amanda Hugginkiss.
Yeah, Hugginkiss, yeah. Mike Cox.
Yeah.
My cat. And see if she cracks up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Break them.
But then the character, obviously, there, he's definitely trying to get... Like, you could tell he probably believes...
Yeah.
That's Bill speaking through her.
Yeah. So
and it is convincing. Like, that's...
Yeah.
When I heard that for the first time, I'm like, oh, have they... Because the whole general consensus, skeptic-wise, is that she made it up.
Yeah.
Very good job.
Yeah,
if that's the case. Her voice does noticeably... It's not the girl speaking with a low voice.
No.
It does go a couple octaves lower, and it's like, oh, it's quite...
Yeah. It's very... when you listen to it, you're like, that could be genuine. And it's a hard one, isn't it? Because we're only listening to it as an audio recording of it. But like people... I think I said to you there was a camera... the photographer guy who was there, and he witnessed stuff and said, like, no, you couldn't act the stuff that was happening in the house. It was genuine, it was real. But it was an interesting one. So anyway, look, the Warrens arrive in England and they meet the Hodgsons, And Peggy shows Ed the bedroom that is now trashed, and the walls are covered in crosses.
People have donated crosses to them.
They have. Here's a cross.
Here's a cross. Most people make a pav or a lasagna.
Yeah, yeah.
Got a cross.
Got a cross for you. Not another one.
Thank you.
I have to put it against the wall.
But now
It's
what?
like, you know, when in Major League, where the Wesley Snipes character puts the gloves on.
Yeah, that's right. For every base he steals, and he buys 100 pairs for every base he wants to steal.
That's it. So is it like every time they're possessed, they put up another cross?
It's a notch.
Another one?
Notch on the belt. Because they do have a trophy room,
They do.
which gets talked about in the first film. If you're going to nail crosses, it's in the trophy room. But yeah, back to the room. Yeah, it's all trashed. It reminded me of that scene in Poltergeist where they open up the kid's bedroom, but that's an active room. And this room has just had somebody have a huge temper tantrum in it.
Yeah, that's
And
it.
it's in pieces.
It's completely trashed, as they say. So they proceed to lock the room with a chain as well on the outside.
And they chain one end of the chain to a radiator.
Yes.
Yeah. And they
That's
lock
right.
the door. So nobody can, because
one
there's
can get
noises
in.
coming out of it.
Yeah.
And they don't want anyone in there.
So Lorraine, this is where then Lorraine meets Janet outside the house on a swing.
On a
is it?
suite. It's quite a big backyard for an English home, is it not? Paul, you're the expert.
I don't know, it just had a garden on a swing, didn't it?
It was wide.
Did it have
Because
wide?
usually
Some of them are quite wide.
they're
though.
quite narrow. You traditionally, aren't they? Those English houses.
It varies.
Yeah.
When I grew up, we had the two houses I remember growing up. One was a very long backyard,
Yeah.
but the other one we lived in was a wide but short,
Oh, stubby.
stubby little backyard.
Bit of girth.
Nothing wrong with that girl.
Yeah. So it's quite grey. She's on a swing set.
Yeah, she's on the swing set, and Janet expresses her sadness that people are avoiding her around the supposed haunting. Though
And there's a-
classing her as a bit of a freak.
There's a cut scene in the DVD where she turns up to school and her friend who gave her the cigarette in the
Yeah.
beginning throws paint at her
Oh,
and calls her a freak.
I didn't see that.
And the teacher comes in and says, go to my office, and then tells Janet to fuck off because she's a disturbance. And
Wow.
Janet's in tears and walks home.
And that's
covered
why
in paint.
she's just at home.
It's just home by
all
herself.
day,
Yeah,
every
so
day.
they skip that, but then, the
Right.
mother has a throwaway line saying, Janet's not going to school. The
I
other,
saw that. Yeah.
the other three kids are. So yeah, it's quite a nasty scene.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah. Why did they?
Why they cut it out? I don't know, because it does have a powerful effect to make you really
Yeah.
feel sorry for her.
Also because I thought the kid stayed a friend, although she does become noticeably absent towards the latter half of the film, so that would explain why she's not around,
Not anymore. Yeah.
which is interesting. But Lorraine comforts her and comforts Janet and says, that maybe one person can help change things, like Ed has for her. And then that's the bit where you get the bit. Janet says the voice she hears the voice while they're talking and says, "It wants to hurt you." When did he say that? Right now.
Yeah, he's behind you. And then you kind of reveal Lorraine fell in love when he believed. Fell in love with her husband when he said, "I believe you."
Yeah.
And-
So this is the bit where, like, as you said, like James Wan said it. I think I said this earlier on in our record. Is that James Wan basically was telling a romance story, but was disguising it as a haunted horror film.
Yeah.
And this does lend weight to that because Ed repeats the similar kind of story
Yeah.
a bit down the track. Excuse me. So, and then the Warrens, along with Morris and other crew members, then gather in the Hodgson living room to try and communicate with the spirit. Janet sits in the chair and she starts to, speak with the voice, but only when they have their backs turned.
He refuses to. She can't do it.
Yeah.
She says he refuses to talk to you unless you turn away.
Yeah.
Which has happened in real life, I think.
Yes.
And helped lend credence to the skeptics of like, well,
Yeah.
what the hell?
Yeah.
They handle it. James Wan handles it because it's one shot, and she's
Yes.
over Ed's shoulder, out of focus.
Yeah.
And because she's out of focus, she slumps her head, and then Bill starts speaking.
Yeah.
And out of the shadow at the top of her head, you see Bill's mouth appear. So you don't know if it's her head coming up and speaking as Bill, or she's literally morphed into Bill because it's
Yeah.
all out of focus. It's brilliant.
Yeah, but there's a
idea.
bit where it definitely looks like Bill sitting there.
Sitting there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all out of focus, but
Yeah.
you don't know if she's
Done really
physically
well.
morphed
Yeah.
or it's just her. And it's because it's all defocused, and it goes for a good couple of minutes.
Yeah, it does.
All in this
Yeah,
one
yeah.
shot.
Yeah.
And it's good and it's all scary, but it's just the way he just chose to cover it in that one shot is very clever.
I agree. Yeah, it's a really cool bit.
And Bill reveals he died in that chair at this point.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is also where, but then Ed pulls out the cross necklace he has and puts it in front of Janet's face, making Bill sound distressed. And he yells something unintelligible before everything seems to calm down.
Yeah. And it's the words. Something. It's a weird phrasing.
Yeah.
Something. It get out me.
It
says implies it wants to get out or something.
Yeah. But we don't get that puzzle doesn't get solved until towards the end.
And it also doesn't really get underlined because there's another cutscene where they actually listen to that recording again, and the Morris guy says it clearly wants to get out.
Yes.
Not knowing that effectively there's a bit of a twist to that message.
Yeah.
Which is why when the twist got revealed in the movie, it didn't really land with me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't underline enough that this message wasn't making sense.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was all very weird. But we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a really well shot thing.
Yes, I liked it. It was a good little scene. The Warrens then, in the next scene, talk to the other investigators with the evidence they have. And Anita, so she's the skeptic one,
Yes.
played by Franca Potente. Run, Lola, run.
Oh, it's Lola. Oh, that's who she is.
Frankie. Oh my God. Anyway,
From Jason Bourne.
yeah.
Oh shit! The whole time I'm racking my brain. Who is that?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
So she's
She's the skeptic.
She's a skeptic, and she's thinking Janet is playing some kind of game with them all. And Ed also appears at this point to be having some kind of doubts himself.
Yeah, because they're on the mission from the church not to interfere, just to gather evidence. And
Yeah.
from purely gathering evidence point of view,
They don't have enough.
he's still got an open mind about.
That's right.
Well, it could be this, it could be that.
Yeah. The Warrens, and I wonder also if that, if you go back to the early, when we've first seen the Warrens again in this film, and they're on that talk show bit, and the guy's attacking them, saying that they're not real, they're
Charlatans,
farcists.
yeah.
So I wonder if that's playing in the back of his mind too. That no, I need to have as much proof as I can get. Otherwise, we're going to be called charlatans and
Yeah, okay.
more so. Something I just thought of just then. The Warrens stay with the Hodgsons for the night, and this is where Janet finds herself in the bedroom with the crosses.
She gets transported up.
Yeah, so kind of
She finds herself downstairs.
and then goes up. Hold on, how does
Yeah,
that work?
no. She wakes up because she's sleeping with her mum, and she ties a rope around the wrist. And mum says, "You don't have to do that. I don't like it." She goes,
Yeah.
"It just makes it's like a security blanket." She
Yeah,
feels
yeah.
good. Next thing she wakes up. She's on the ceiling
I know.
in the lounge room.
Yes.
Everything's
it's such
upside
a
down
good
for her.
scene,
Yeah,
this.
and she sees him in the
Yeah.
chair.
Sees him in the chair, and then he starts walking up the
It's
stairs.
upstairs, and then she gets sucked through the ceiling. Boom! Finds herself in an old room.
Yeah. with all the crosses.
Which has been locked from the outside.
Yeah.
So she's fucked. And so there's a bit from the trailer where
Yes.
she's all the crosses turn upside down.
Yeah. It's an iconic clip that's
Yeah.
mainly because it was in the trailer.
It's in the trailer, yeah. And the camera pivots around the room. You see the crosses turn, and it just feels like it feels to me like an arcade Halloween thing where crosses are being ratcheted up by the crewmen on the other side of the wall.
Yeah.
But then it goes into a corner of the wall which is completely dark, and their use of darkness is really good because I remember we didn't mention in the early part of the film where where Janet wakes up the sister, and said, "There's somebody in the room."
Yes.
And she said, and this voice is being whispered from the corner of the room, and it's dark.
Yeah.
But you see this really vague silhouette of somebody. She turns on the light, and it's David. What's the name from Starsky and Hutch? And it's his poster.
Ah, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so the use of color again, darkness and shade, which was used in the first Conjuring really well, is brilliant.
Yes.
And it's really good with today's digital technology. You can get it exactly right. If they had done it back in the old days when it was filmed, they really would have had to rely on a DOP who really knew his shit.
It's what James Wan, and we've said this before, but it's what James Wan excels at. He really knows how to handle light and darkness in the film. Like, it's if anything, it's his signature.
Yeah.
And it's definitely his go-to, and it's what he does really well.
Yeah.
That and making really creepy puppets.
Creepy puppets with a face montage. Particular look on the face of either the scary female protagonist or puppets. He loves that look.
Yeah.
That design is very him.
Yeah, very much
so anyway, so the camera pans around, goes into a corner of the room, it's shadow, and Bill comes flying out at the girl.
Yeah.
She screams, wakes up Mum. She opens the door, and of course there's a chain lock on it.
That's right.
Yeah. And then she sees the girl Janet trying to reach out to her through the gap in the door, and then Bill's hand comes around her mouth.
Yes.
And pulls her back in, and that's when the mum really, really freaks out.
Well, that's the first time she physically sees him.
Sees a manifestation of him.
So that's pretty cool moment. And then they manage to break down the door, don't they? And that's where she's got the curtain kind of wrapped around her.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's almost like she's being strangled.
Strangled, yeah.
And apparently Janet Hodgson said that actually happened. There was a bit where she was being kind of...
Oh, really?
Felt like she was being kind of strangled by the curtains.
All right.
And so they've included that in this. So that's a bit of a fucking crazy...
So that was weird. Which is what they say. They're like, well, that was weird. You want some tea? And they're like, oh, I have a Milo. Which is
That's
weird
it.
because Milo's an Australian chocolate milk, but they asked for it. And then they go to bed. And nothing. That's the end of the film.
That's it. That's when it ends. Yeah,
Pretty
yeah.
much,
They're all happy because they've had Milo.
Well, yeah.
Wouldn't you be?
I feel there's a big ad for Milo.
Yeah, yeah. There was a point there. I was like, is this, even though, you know, when they Bill changes his name to Milo.
Hello, and he's just something really. It just de-threatens him.
Yeah, yeah.
He's so friendly.
It's all good after that.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, so then we have another occasion where Peggy brings Ed downstairs to the basement to inspect the water because they've got a bit of a water problem.
Because Ed's big go-to, and it was in the first film, is that he's a handyman.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's between the guys, so might as well help fixing the house.
yeah, that's it.
And she says, "Oh, you know, the downstairs is pretty bad." He said, "How bad can it be?" He walks down and it's flooded.
It's like a swimming pool.
It's a fucking underwater like that.
and
You
shit.
can't like mold. Yeah. Like you can't live in that house. It's a fucking shithole.
I know.
Which apparently it was.
Yeah, but I even now was like, there can't be that much fucking water in somebody's house.
Yeah, because the house would collapse in on itself because the foundation's gone.
Anyway.
But then Ed says, "Oh, bloody hell."
Yeah.
Which I love it. That's the first thing Americans do when they start living in London too long. Is that's the first affectation they pick up, is they say bloody an awful lot.
Oh, bloody hell.
And he's only been there for like
2 seconds.
2 days, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yes.
So Peggy thinks she sees someone behind Ed while he's
Yes.
trying to fix the pipe in the water. But the ghostly vision of Bill is in the water when she kind of peers over, and it comes up and grabs
Drags her.
Peggy.
Yeah.
And Ed's manages to break her free, but that's when they notice that there's a set of dentures. Oh, she's been bitten.
She's got bitten. And then
and there's a set of dentures, and he holds it up to kind of go, oh, look.
Yeah, it matches. Well, he had some instinct to reach into the water for whatever reason. Pulls out
He's
these
like, "Oh, no, it's dog
dentures.
turd."
You know, oh no, it's a shit. It's a denture, and it matches because it's got 2 teeth missing.
Yeah.
So and Janet got bitten earlier
Yes, that's
with
right.
2 teeth missing.
So yeah, exactly. So it's kind of again, it's a way of just triggering the viewers' recognition of like, oh yeah, this is happened again, and they're now trying to get more proof that this is actually a real thing that's happening.
Yeah.
So then the children start kind of warming to the Warrens as they maintain their stay. So you get this kind of bit where they're starting to feel almost like their family, and
Because he does his big point of family sticks together.
yes, that's right.
Which again would have worked. It was originally designed clearly as a scene to supplement when Janet got paint thrown at her,
Yes.
and she leaves her brother and sisters at school.
Yes.
Because they told the kids chant and tease her.
Yep.
So yours. Because there's a scene after that where the other house across the road, and the mum says, "I think you should protect your sister."
Yeah.
And the kids are like, they're picking on us because of her.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
The fact that Mr. Warren says, "No, family's everything."
Yeah, that's it. And they will listen.
And they go buy stuff. And
Yeah.
they buy an Elvis record.
They do buy an Elvis record.
And you've got to play it because this is of American culture. That was a
Yeah,
cute little
yeah.
moment.
Yep.
And then the record player doesn't work.
No.
And then he goes, and I remember seeing this in the movie going, well, And he's like, because we need some music in the house. Camera pans onto a guitar. Whose guitar is that? And I literally stood in the theatre, because whenever any character in the movie goes, well, I'll just get my little guitar and play a little song. Gather around, kids. It is the most cringe-worthy, no matter what kind of movie it is.
Yeah.
But particularly in a serious drama
Yeah.
or anything that isn't a musical, it's a cringe-worthy moment when I don't care if you're fucking Elvis himself. As soon as you pull out the guitar and start singing, and everybody looks around him like
Yeah.
kids gathered at his feet.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was like, oh, this is so terrible. Having said that, it is handled a little bit. The moment I was cringing, but it was handled better than I thought it would because he's meant to be hammy.
Yeah.
But Lorraine looks at him with all lovey-dovey eyes.
Exactly, that's what I was about to
And
say.
that's
it's
what
again,
the
it's
scene-
re-triggering that whole, hey, this is a romance film, not a
Yeah.
horror film, remember?
Yes. It's the scene in every fucking romantic comedy where a woman with a kid and the male suitor comes in,
Yeah.
and then that guy comes in and bonds with the kid in their bedroom by reading a bedtime story, or
the kid kind of spatting out facts and him trying to compete with them.
Yeah.
You know, the kid's little, he's got glasses, and
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
just
yeah.
say the guy's Tom Cruise.
exactly, exactly. And then the mother's always at the doorway, leans against the doorframe,
Yeah.
and just looks on smiling.
That's it.
Every movie.
It's that scene. Anyway, You don't do smelts, do you?
I don't do. What gives you that impression?
No idea. Yeah, so he does sing "Can't Help Falling in Love with You," to be specific about the track. And yes, and to echo what you said, he convinces that the kids never to let bullies get them down and to stick together, and that's important because it does come back.
Just bringing back to that point.
Yep.
Singing in movies,
Yes.
like Lord of the Rings, has a lot of singing.
Yes.
And it's one of the things that Peter Jackson did away with. No singing. No. Even in the cartoon, Lord of the Rings, there's a bit where they said, let's hear a Shire song, and the hobbits jump on the table and start singing a song, right?
Yes.
And in the cartoon, even, it's kind of cringeworthy. For me, anyway. But in the Hobbit, in the Lord of the Rings, no singing.
Yeah.
None of that. And there's a lot of it. In the Hobbit, it comes back.
Okay.
Actually, in the third Lord of the Rings, when they're enjoying the victory, Merry and Pippin jump up on a table.
I thought there was a bit where they sang. Yeah.
Yeah, and they sit mugs, and that's a little different. Again, it can be done if it's only like a snippet.
And it's the bit where I always get Merry and Pippin the wrong way round, but where he sings that kind of really kind of melancholic song.
Yeah, the kind of song. Yeah, the death song. Just before about to get going into battle.
Yeah.
And again, that worked because it's not. Because the thing is, like in the Hobbit, it got criticised an awful lot because it's singing in it.
Yeah.
But they used that singing in part of the trailer, which is the 13 dwarves after they've had dinner sing about the Lonely Mountain, and that kind of worked. I remember thinking, oh, that works because it's a melancholy sort of song, and it worked in the context of the scene where their home is gone, and this is you can only gather 13 of these legions of dwarves who will do it. So I just find singing in movies is an interesting thing. If it's not a musical, that's an interesting change of gear, and usually it doesn't work. I say sometimes it does,
Sometimes it doesn't.
but yeah, usually when I say, "Hey, whose guitar is that?" Oh fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, that old chestnut.
But it wasn't as bad as I thought it was when I saw him grab the guitar. The way it was executed in the movie.
Yeah.
It was okay.
Yeah. It's like, in The Sound of Music where they all start singing.
Yes, but again, it's a musical, so it's kind of okay.
I was being facetious.
Oh, yeah. I didn't get that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway, back to the movie and Sans singing from here on in, which is probably good.
Yeah.
And Lorraine is speaking with Morris privately, and this is where he gives her a bit of background about why he's doing what he's doing.
Yes.
And he says that, they're about to be part of history, and Lorraine is uncertain with this comment. And he adds that he lost his daughter years ago and has been hoping to communicate with her in some way if it were possible.
So in the other movie, the Einfeld incident, the Seinfeld incident, it's from his point of view. It's from Morris's point of view. Seinfeld, yes. It's from Seinfeld, Morris's point of view. And the whole driving plot for him in that movie is his daughter.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So yeah, because I feel like I know this guy better than because I saw that movie first.
Yeah.
Than
the Warrens.
The Warrens. The other interesting thing too, I do remember from that the other film. The house, the layout of the house is very similar.
Yes.
So obviously they were very faithful to the design.
Yep.
Both houses are falling apart at the seam.
Yep.
Mouldy as hell. Blah blah. The one that the house in the Enfield incident.
Enfield
incident. I think you'll find it's Enfield.
There's no I in it.
Is they had a canary.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm a bird guy. And they always say when the canary doesn't shut up at night, it keeps singing at night.
Yeah.
It keeps chirping, and then when it doesn't, that's when some shit goes down.
Yeah.
And it's interesting they chose not to have a bird in because I think that's real. I'm guessing.
I don't know.
But it's a big.
I remember it in the series that you're talking about, but I don't remember reading about it to know if it's true.
It's an odd. If it is a creative blemish, it's kind of an odd one to have.
Yeah.
So I assumed it was real. It could be wrong.
Well, it kind of reminds you of the whole canaries down the mines kind of thing. And that's when the first sign of danger is when the canary's dead.
Yes, exactly.
Or in this case, not singing.
Not great for the canary either.
Yeah. But also interesting, I can't remember if they tackle it in this film or not, but Morris's daughter was called Janet as well.
Ah.
So there is this kind of whole
connection
thing.
And the two mothers were called Peggy, weren't they?
Peggy, yeah. On another night, the kids hear noises coming from the kitchen, and this is where Johnny, who's the brother we kind of keep forgetting about,
the fourth one,
not stuttering one, the other one,
non-stuttering.
He decides to investigate to fight this bully, and then Margaret,
because he says Mr. Warren says family.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. This is how I told you it came back. And then Margaret then screams as Janet disappears. but she pops up in the kitchen with a knife and the door locked. And, it's a very kind of quick cut, and you see the boy turn and see her.
Yeah, because she said, "Where's Janet?" She was standing next to me, and she's just gone.
Yeah.
Camera pans, and she's in the kitchen with him now.
Yeah.
Standing on her haunches
Yeah.
on the kitchen stove or whatever it was.
Yeah, with a knife.
And with a knife.
Like,
And it's a big moment.
Yep.
Yeah, door closes. Scream. It was a big scream. All the adults all around the house run.
Yeah.
And
then they can't find her.
They can't find her. And bits of furniture flying everywhere in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Tables are flying, cutlery and all that, knives.
Yes.
Because it goes into the kitchen initially and there's like knives all stabbed into the kitchen
That's
table.
right, yeah.
Doesn't think, well, that's freaky.
Yeah.
He just grabs one. Easy to get.
That's just where they put their knives.
That's an English thing. Yeah.
Knife drawers full again. Stick it on the table.
Knife drawer, there's 4 sardines.
So then...
they can't find Janet.
No, they can't find her. The adults, get into the kitchen and things have been thrown around, as you said. They find chairs and dishware broken all over the kitchen. Johnny and Janet aren't anywhere to be found. They do eventually find Johnny, and then they find Janet, who is stuck inside an electrical kind of box.
Johnny was in a pantry cupboard.
He was.
She was stuck, inside like
in the walls.
In the wall, effectively in a fuse box. But she's crammed in an impossible angle.
Yes.
Arms are and legs are different. You can tell it's actually somebody else's hands.
Yeah.
At a different angle, but it's designed to look like she's been contorted and wedged in between 2 pipes.
Exactly.
And she says something weird.
Yeah, it says some unintelligible message before being pulled out.
Yes. And they're and the first thing out of their mouth is how the hell did she get in there?
Exactly, yeah. Which is still a case in point, despite what we then learn in the next scene is when Cranky Pants Anita,
Jason Bourne girl,
shows the Warrens video evidence of Janet herself throwing things around in the kitchen to give the appearance of it being haunted, and making it look more obvious that she's been faking all along. And Peggy sends everyone out the house, and later, as the kids also believe Janet was faking, she tells them that it was going to hurt her family if she didn't, as in Bill, was going to hurt her family if she didn't do as he told her to.
Yeah.
As in to fake it.
Yeah. But again, the whole initial impression you get as a viewer is that she throws a table.
Yeah.
And so the first instinct is well, a kid can't do that. Which is what they say. A kid can't do that much damage.
Yeah.
Maybe it can, maybe it can't, because a kid properly motivated can do that.
Yeah.
But that's the impression you're supposed to get, is that clearly it's still something.
That's
up.
right. There's a point where
the strength she shows is ridiculous.
There's a point where Bill's you're not making a really good job. Let me help you take the table over.
Yeah.
All right. And this.
That's how you do it.
Come on. Now you do the rest.
It almost,
all right, I'll help you more.
It reminds me too of that thing of psychic manipulation, bending spoons.
Yeah.
I think it's a Fry and Laurie skit where he goes, I've got so and so.
It is. Yeah.
He's going to bend a spoon. Do it. And he picks up and bends the spoon.
Yeah.
He goes, you bent it with your fingers psychically. Yeah. Psychically through my fingers, I bent the spoon.
Yeah.
And that technically is true. You're using the power of your mind to command your fingers to bend a spoon.
That's right.
And it's like that. She was technically, Bill was using psychic powers through the body of a girl to trash a kitchen.
That's it.
So yes.
Okay, so then the Warrens. So we're faced with this supposed truth that's come out. The Warrens have no choice but to pack up and leave, because the church would just throw it out.
Throw it out. They also, I remember the neighbour getting upset. The male neighbour getting upset on their behalf, saying, "You're just going to pack up and leave." And Warren goes, "Yeah, we are." And then Warren gives him his bags as if he expects him to put in his car, and he does. After they had this sort of "So you're fucking off then?" "Yes, we are." And then, "Here's my bags." So this guy's gone from angry at Warren's to, "Yeah, fair enough." And he puts his bags in the car because he's English.
Yeah,
right,
he's
governor.
I've said my piece.
Yeah.
You know where I stand. I'm not happy with the situation, but if you've got to go.
Yeah. Now, do you want to leave now, or do you want me to take you leave?
Because if we leave now, we'll beat the peak hour traffic.
Yeah.
Right. So they basically head home, and even as Lorraine continues to express uncertainty over how it just appeared that Janet was faking, right where a camera was pointed at her, the only window that was.
Yeah. So her argument is Janet should have known the camera was there.
Yeah. And then Ed then plays the recordings of Bill's voice.
So this is what happens. So he drops again. I didn't get what the fuck was going on in the movie. He knocks over a piece of luggage.
Yeah.
The quarter-inch tapes roll out.
Yeah.
And they go into crisscross.
Yes.
And from there he goes, "Aha! I know what those mixed messages are."
Yeah.
Again, the movie at the time.
Because I guess because they're both separate reels.
Yeah.
And they both have the different recordings.
Yeah. I know what the crisscrossing message is. I just didn't realise that was going to be an issue.
No. It was a bit random. It was
very
we've got to
random,
get them to come back.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Let's cross
Cross these two
the
reels.
Cross the
Because
reels.
the reels, and he transcribes them and realises that she's skipping every second word.
Yeah.
And when you put them together, they make a complete sentence.
Sentence, and the sentence is "Help me! It won't let me go."
Yeah, because the original one was "Help it
Let
go."
go.
Yeah.
And then me won't.
You go, yeah.
Me.
Me.
Me won't me.
Me won't me. Me won't me.
Me won't me.
World's shittest haiku.
Yeah.
We won't me.
And then Lorraine is then pulled into another vision at this point. She sees the real Bill Wilkins sitting up in his chair, no longer threatening. He speaks in a riddle to Lorraine before the demon nun appears behind Bill and takes him away.
Because Bill implies he's actually been trying to protect
Yeah.
the girl. This
That's
whole time.
right.
Yeah.
So he's a good guy.
It's not him. It's not him.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's a
Yeah.
puppy.
Yeah. Wasn't he doing it to... Yeah, I can't remember now. But something like that.
Shits and giggles.
Fits and
And it
chills.
all went wrong, didn't it? Always goes wrong. So he speaks in this riddle, as I said, before the demon nun appears and takes Bill away. This leads Lorraine to realise that Bill is just a pawn, and this demon is the true threat. They rush back to the Hodgson's home while trying to decipher the riddle. Ed figures that Bill meant to say that they need to find the demon's name in order to have power over it.
Yes.
The Warrens return to find the family locked outside the house in the pouring rain. Ed tries to break in through the back because Janet's still in there.
That's right, because the mum comes in and the kids are screaming, and
Yeah.
Janet is levitating, full possession face,
Yep.
throwing shit everywhere psychically.
Yep.
And then she takes the kids out, goes back in, and of course, the Janet spirit closes the door on the mum.
That's it. And
that's
so they all
pretty scary shit.
scar, didn't they? All scar.
Oh, fuck off.
And this is what the Warrens find out. So then Ed then tries to kind of break in through the back. Lightning strikes the tree in the front of the house and leaving a sharpened stem that Lorraine recognises as the thing that kills Ed in her vision.
Yes.
It looks like a stake.
Yes, it impales him, yeah.
Yeah. She tries to figure out the demon's name before realising she already knows it. Ah, you plum.
Yeah.
And she looks into her Bible and sees from her scribbling. So this is what she did
When
way
she
back when she
Got
saw the vision.
possessed, saw the nun in the house.
Yeah.
And she started stabbing her Bible.
That's right. And it turns out that she wrote the name Valak. And she rushes into the house to go after Ed. So Ed at this point is stumbling around inside the house.
He goes to the basement.
Yeah, he goes through the basement. That's
Yeah.
right.
Door slammed shut.
Door slammed shut.
Now this big moment, which was kind of cool, where she's like, "Wait for me." He's like,
Yeah.
"I gotta go now," and
Yeah.
it's shot on either side of the door, and it does feel like this is the moment where they're going to kill the Ed. If this
Ed
is a movie
character.
franchise,
Yeah,
this is where you
kill
kill the
Ed.
Ed character
Yeah.
because he's like, "I have to do this," and it's
Yeah.
the big no, don't. I have to. She takes off. Then the neighbor comes in with an axe, hacks it down,
Here's Johnny.
and then she goes in, chases after him.
That's right. Goes in after him. But just while he's in there on his own, though, he gets temporarily blinded.
Yes, this
with
is
the pipe
Steam.
bursts and the
Yes.
steam goes into his face, and he's stumbling around. And there's a really cool bit where he's attacked by the Crooked Man as well. So
Yeah.
the Crooked Man character hasn't seen him for a little while.
Yeah.
And I think we mentioned he's got his own spin-off coming.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Yes. Right. Yes.
So he starts, trying to attack Ed. Before coming across the room where Janet is, she stands by the window, as in Janet is standing by the window as it shatters, leaving an opening to jump onto the
Stake.
the stake outside. Ed rushes to grab her, just catching her as he holds onto the curtains, and they start kind of being ripped at the off the runs.
Yep.
And then this is where, at this point, Lorraine reaches the room and tries to save Ed, but this is where Valak appears again. And she holds Lorraine back, like thrusting her back against the wall.
Yes. So psychic powers.
Yeesh. And Lorraine utters the demon's name.
And she banishes.
I know who you are! And banishes the demon back to hell. And Lorraine runs to save Ed and Janet just in the nick of time. And Janet is fine.
Yeah, it's kind of like for Hollywood films, you do expect it's not that easy. Like when's the twist coming, and it doesn't come.
I know, that's what I thought. I kind of went, that was a bit, just had to say your name. It's a bit Rumpelstiltskin.
Yeah, it's Mr. Mixelplex, it's
Yeah,
Rumpelstiltskin. But you assume there's got to be a twist, or there's something she didn't quite know
Exactly.
about it, or the Crooked Man is no, that's it.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
So, like with the Nun spin-off, it's going to be interesting to see if that's an origin story or not, though.
See, James Wan is doing what Tom Cruise is trying to do with the Dark Universe. He is spinning his own universe very well with Annabelle, the Crooked Man, and
The Nun, yeah.
The Nun, yeah.
That's right. But like even like with we haven't Annabelle's yet to hit release, and that's kind of why we're doing these podcast reviews of the franchise and the lead up to it. But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, that like for me, I wouldn't have thought that either The Nun or The Crooked Man have enough weight behind them to tell a full story.
It's a bit like Lights Out, to be honest.
Yeah.
Lights Out, brilliant short film. You think it would have enough legs to be a feature, but in this particular case,
No, I wasn't. I think neither of us were fans of that one. So, so as we kind of start trying to tie up the climax of the film, it's morning. Everything has calmed down. Peggy and Janet thank the Warrens for helping them, and there's a brief text that follows that states that the Enfield haunting became one of the most notorious cases in history. Peggy Hodgson continued living in the house for 40 years until she died in the same chair as Bill Wilkins. A bit spooky. And then the Warrens return home. Ed takes the Crooked Man turntable and puts it in his kind of trophy room.
Yeah.
And you can see Annabelle in the background, still in her little cabinet thing. He then hears music playing from upstairs. Lorraine puts on Can't Help Falling in Love with You. He goes up and the two of them share a dance.
Aww.
And that's the end of the film. Ta-da! So what are we thinking with this?
Well, I thought they were going to kill him because I know in real life he passed away long. I mean, she's still alive.
Yeah.
He passed away in the 80s, 90s.
Yeah. Oh, this was in the 80s, so it would have been a bit later. 90s, I would say. Excuse me.
But yeah, so I thought they were going to take dramatic license and kill him off that way. Obviously, have to wait for
I
the
think
third
ordinarily, if it wasn't based on the real characters, that's probably what they would have done.
film. Yeah, exactly. But that's my first thought. Look, it's fine. The problem was because I'd seen the Enfield hauntings and was very familiar with it, and it really emphasised to me how much creative license the Conjuring takes with real life cases. They don't say anything. They don't actually say it's like the real life thing. They're just using it as a base and creating a horror story around it, because a lot of them will tell you that. And you and I have had experience with the paranormal. Yeah, it's never like that. It's always a suggestion of a feeling.
No, that's right.
And that's what it is. It's never an actual ghost that turns up and goes, fuck it, and that everybody can see.
No, that's right. That's the thing, yeah.
But, so from that point of view, within the Hollywood construct of this is what it is, yeah, it's very good. But steeped in one foot into a real incident, I was a bit, it was the dramatic moments really took me out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that they made the brave choice of revealing the ghost very early on to not only the mum but to members of the public, which is the police.
Yeah.
To get that again, it's like the host when they revealed the monster straight off the bat.
Yes,
making that see how it goes. Was interesting. So I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed The Conjuring.
No.
Because I didn't know anything about the Conjuring storyline.
Yeah.
And so it was all a bit of a surprise. That helped as well. I didn't help in this case I knew how The Conjuring 2 finishes.
Yeah.
Even when they were taking big dramatic license with, they're going to kill Ed with this. I was still a bit like, oh, yeah, okay. Nice misdirect with the Amityville at the beginning. That was really... Because the opening line is...
Yeah, that was good.
We've never had a case like this before, and it pulls to the most iconic pair of windows in history. And you're like, oh, shit, okay. They're there. What's the other thought? The Asian guy who was their assistant was in that part of the film. You never see him again?
Yeah.
Couldn't afford a third ticket? No.
Yeah, that's strange, isn't it?
Yeah,
I sorry, forgot about that.
So
Token Asian guy.
Yeah.
I guess though that would deter from if we are going down the line of this being focusing more on the Lorraine and Ed relationship, having a third person would have
third wheel.
Yeah, he just was sitting around going, fucking dancing to music again. No, he's got the guitar out again. Oh my god. What is it with the Elvis songs? Play some fucking Black Sabbath.
Do you remember The Office, where the HR thing and Ricky Gervais, he's got a song and he thinks it cuts to him playing guitar, and Tim just sticks his head in and goes, he went home to get it. He went home to get it. He's just on his guitar. Yeah, I love it.
That's great.
Yeah. Look, the Nun's great. She's really spooky as fuck.
Yeah. I think the scariest she is in the scene where the daughter is there too.
Yeah.
That's quite a and we mentioned that about how then Lorraine follows her into that back room. that is a pretty kind of full-on scary moment. And yeah, it was cool. And definitely an iconic, I would say now, an iconic monster villain. But like I said, I just don't know if she's got the weight to carry a whole film.
Yeah. Like anything else, it's...
Yeah, but I'm happy to be proven wrong.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you, found not as enjoyable as the first one. But I did find that when I rewatched it, I enjoyed it more than when I first watched it. So I think it warrants, if you have only seen it once, I think it warrants watching again, because I think you'll find it's a stronger movie than you remember. I know, but like Miles liked it. He was a big fan. So Miles is one of our fellow podcasters. He really liked this one.
Yeah, he's funny. Well, he liked the Ouija origin film.
Yeah,
and I had seen the previous film, which was a sequel.
Yeah,
and thought that was rubbish.
Yes.
And then the Ouija one origin, everybody's saying no, it's one of the few cases where the sequel, which is a prequel, is actually much better.
Yeah,
and it is better, but it didn't blow me his way.
No,
really. So, but then he'll go into like really cool, obscure horror films, like a really torture porny horrific.
Yeah,
and they are good, but I'm like,
you and I aren't a fan of the torture.
Torture porn stuff. But
it's
interesting.
No, it is. So I found, so that was my take on it. Is that when I was coming to watch this again, I was like, I want to do it for the sake of the podcast, but I found myself pleasantly surprised rewatching it and going, actually, there's elements that I really quite like in it. So so that was my take on it. I thought, funnily, like the Warrens weren't as impactful this time round as well. I think
the classic. Well, you know who they are now.
Yeah,
and you got to have the second chapter.
What more can you say around it that adds to that? I mean, I guess that's why you send a bit of light on the relationship, but yeah, it just felt like they weren't as the characters weren't as strong this time around. In fact, none of the characters really stood out, in this film. Like,
it could have been a tour de force for whoever plays Janet.
Yeah,
and she was fine.
Yeah, and even like Peggy, the mum was like, it's meant like a carbon copy almost of the storyline of the first one. And Lily Taylor was so good.
O'Connor.
Yeah,
Suspiria.
So she looks a bit like the one from Suspiria.
Suspiria, yeah, she does. Yeah, so I just realised that now. Yeah.
So she. But even then, like, it's almost like a carbon copy of the first one, as I said. And Lily Taylor was so good in that first film.
She's great.
Really, really good. And I think that's really hard to step in those shoes when you're playing with the same kind of ingredients, essentially, as the first film. But, like I said, I still think it holds itself up. I still think it's one of James Wan's stronger movies that he's made.
He's hit two good boundaries with the first two films, for sure.
So, and there's supposed to be a third one coming out now as well, which we've been told about.
It's about
he's stepping down from the director and putting on his producer hat again.
But it's about werewolves.
It's about werewolves, apparently.
That's insane.
So, but apparently that was an actual case as well that the Warrens took on board. So it's a written account
of a time they met a really hairy guy.
Yeah. Well, interesting to see. I don't know what where the setting of this one will be, because that was something that was remarkably different about
they go to England.
The two different settings. It made it feel like a very different film, and that was an obvious choice, a deliberate choice, I should say, that Wan made. That's why he picked that particular case. Was like, because it's going to feel different. It's going to have and it does. Credit to him, and the Bill character's entrenched in that kind of Cockney London. Character. So, is there anything else you'd like to add to the film discussion?
Look, it's interesting that there's another miniseries, TV series, close that came out just a few years before to compare it against, the Enfield hauntings.
Yep.
And the fact that it's a real life incident. Is all very interesting. And the fact that it's its own cinematic universe, I guess, for want of a better word, is interesting.
It will be interesting to see how that develops, because obviously the Annabelle was shit, and we're about to get Annabelle Creation,
which apparently
is supposed to be
good. Yeah.
So who knew? So we will judge that when it comes around to it in literally at the time of this recording in about 3 weeks' time. I think it's due for its nationwide release. But it's definitely going to be. They're definitely trying to, and it's the thing at the moment with Hollywood. They're trying to really make franchises and open up that umbrella as much as possible. So it'll be kind of an interesting one to kind of keep an eye on as these films develop and come out.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think overall, though? You would rate it?
I do, and I think as I said, the first time I watched it, I wasn't as I liked it, but I wasn't as gripped by it. And I think maybe because I found I knew, like you, knew a bit more about the story. But when I watched it the second time round, I was like, actually, I'm not giving it the right kind of the right kind of backing. I enjoyed it a lot better the second time round.
Yeah.
And so I would recommend it.
Yeah.
Off the back of that. And it was a lot better than other horror films that were coming out around that same time.
What other films were there, roughly?
Well, the only one I could say that stood out for me last year was Don't Breathe. As a great film. But like you got Lights Out, which was shit, like you said, and you know, there was all these kind of films that were promising to be good, and they just weren't. And so when you look at the whole of 2016, you kind of go, yeah, it definitely was one of the better movies. So am I judging it on a poor year? I don't know, but I definitely like. As I said, the second viewing of it, I was like, no, it's actually better than I thought it was.
Fair enough. Well, he's done well. He's building a cinematic universe, which I don't think was his intent when he first started doing.
No, I don't think so. But then was it his intent with Saw as well? Look at that. That's now about to have its seventh film come out.
I don't think so. It would have been a standalone film when he originally came out with it.
That's right. It's just he seems to be the birth of franchises with Insidious as well.
Yes.
Which is about to have its fourth chapter come out early next year.
Oh, is it? Oh. Dang.
So it's like, you know, I mean, he's due to make Aquaman, so he's very much steering away from the horror stuff.
Oh, is he?
Obviously, you'd expect Aquaman may, if that's successful, may have a line of Aquaman films.
Well, that's part of the DC.
Yes, yeah, part of the DC universe. So will we finally get a decent DC universe film?
Yeah, dude, yeah. Well, Justice League, I don't know, it's hard to tell. Batgirl with Joss, maybe.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
Cool.
Excellent.
All right, well, so on that note, that ties up our Surgeons of Horror podcast discussion on The Conjuring 2. And join us next time where we might tackle a bit of the Annabelle movie and maybe some other stuff too in the mix. Until then, I'm your lead surgeon and host for the series, Paul Farrell. And as always, I'm joined by Anthony, the Big Cheese Yee.
Hello, bye.
Goodbye.
You're listening to the Surgeons of Horror podcast. Music supplied by Peter Nezik. For more discussions or podcasts, head over to surgeonsofhorror.com or head over to our Facebook and Twitter sites for the latest news and updates.